Hello, welcome back to Hakuna MaChatter, and today another view from the inside. I'm joined by actor Michael D. Douglas Duggs, and this guy is a legend. I can't wait for y'all to hear what this guy has to say. So don't go anywhere. Let's dive straight into this one. Hello, Michael. Welcome. Welcome to Hakuna MaChatter.
Thank you for having me. I love the name.
Thank you very much, brother. I mean, you say thanks for having you. It's the pleasure I feel is all mine because you and I we met like a couple of weeks ago for the first time through a mutual friend, and
Yeah.
we got talking about diversity and representation from like the start of the conversation. So I just knew I need this guy on. I need this guy on.
Yeah. No,
um,
I'm really happy you actually asked for me to be on. Yeah, it was random because when you first said it, I was like, oh, you actually have a channel. Oh, okay. So this isn't just random conversation. Like we can actually go into this is good.
yeah, man.
Okay, so we got a whole platform to go into it. And then I saw videos off your channel and just already through the mutual friend, I already knew that we had similar taste in things.
Yeah.
So then from your channel, I saw the angles that you were coming at some of the things, and I was like, this is the kind of stuff I want to do. Like, this is the kind of stuff I want to talk about. This is the kind of conversations I want to be involved in. So, trust me,
Great.
pleasure's mine. I'm really thankful.
What you like to do first is to kind of start with a bit of a getting to know you, just so the people watching kind of understand where you've come from in terms of an actor, in terms of a fan for film and TV as well. Like,
Yeah.
free roam, man. Tell us your story.
Well, it's really weird because, so I think this week I put up the most innocent tweet, and
Mm,
it got like not 600, I say probably like 300 retweets. And all it was I was just saying that I think that, and like a lot of people don't know this about me, but I said the first film that made me feel something, that made me feel
mm.
like, oh, films make you feel something, was actually Edward Scissorhands. And it was just Johnny
Okay.
Depp being this very kind of goth like character who, in the beginning, he shows you that he's a very emotionless character. So you don't really
Mm,
expect him to go on an emotional journey because he's quite emotionless, but he takes you on this emotional journey, and there's parts where he falls in love, he feels like he can
mm.
be happy again. It's almost like seeing an adult learn feelings.
Yeah.
And when you see that, sometimes I think I related to it as a child, and even when I still think about it now, I relate to it as in there are some things that as a child emotionally maybe you don't get a chance to learn about or get to a handle of it, and you do look like a 3-year-old when you're 30, when you're still dealing with emotions. And I really he took me on a journey. I thought his performance
Mm,
was brilliant. I'll never forget it. It was the first time I thought, wow, like movies are so much deeper than some guy just acting. And I
yeah.
was very young when that came out, but my acting journey, I think that says it all. I was one of the 90s kids that grew up in front of the TV. I
I
was
feel you.
at black. So I think the other thing as well about being black British, I can say from myself and my experience,
Mm,
it wasn't in your face what black British, I don't even think the term was even coined back in the 90s. It wasn't in your face of what that means to be black British. Our culture
mm.
of being black British was very much Notting Hill Carnival, I guess. And that was kind of it. Like no one really explained to you. And it kind of sometimes felt like you were learning how to be black. And I think one of the
Yeah.
things that helped me kind of understand who I was and my own identity, part of my skin color, was things I saw on TV, and it ended up being a lot of
Hmm.
American programs. We did have a lot of British programs, like obviously Lenny Henry growing up, seeing him,
Yeah.
coming from a Caribbean background, The Real McCoy, Oliver, all of these things, Richard
Mm.
Blackwood,
Yeah.
massive,
Yeah. Yeah.
massive inspiration. Dave Benson Phillips was a massive inspiration to me as well. He was someone who allowed me to see that not every black guy was, we don't smile in pictures, we're just cool, we just do this kind of thing. He was a
Yeah.
crazy guy, and I was a crazy guy. So, it allowed me to see myself. Yeah, that was kind of my journey, to see kind of stuff like that. And then I am a church boy as well. So the arts were always around me. My mum and
Yeah.
my dad loved music. So that was always around me as well. So anything with music, dance, or any sort of drama, I was there and I watched it and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed drama at school. It was a release. I was able to, it wasn't just because I was good and I enjoyed performing.
Mm.
What I really liked about drama, what I really liked about different characters were, there's so many different people in this earth, and there's so many different characters and people. And being able to play different characters allowed me to take 5 minutes into their world. And
Yeah.
what was nice is you get 5 minutes into their world, but you don't deal with any of the consequences. So
Yeah, sure.
if you want to start, like, if you're a dad, I get to play a dad for 2 hours, and then I don't have a kid by like 5 o'clock, whereas someone else can't sign off on that. So I get to at least understand for a little while, and then be like, I actually have no idea what you're going through. I only have this little bit where I understand that it's so much different to my life, but I actually have no idea what you're going through. So that was that. High school, then went and did my degree, which was in performing arts in Leicester, De Montfort University, famously by Akram Khan, who is a dancer. And yeah, it's so funny because even as I'm talking to you, I just realized that you've got dance, music, and acting all along there.
Yeah,
and and it's so obvious, and it's been in my room this whole time, but it's only now kind of come into it as I'm talking to you. But yeah, so that's basically my story. Yeah, BA Performing Arts, and I did the normal actor thing where I did, obviously, I think we talked about this, where I did bar work and I did acting. That was like me finding my toes. So I was doing extra work. You know, there's this whole thing of a lot of actors saying never do extra work, but for me, in the beginning, I wanted to do extra work, and I think I did at least a year or a year and a bit of it, because number one, I wanted to get onto a Hollywood set. Number two, I wanted to see the professionals and how they do it. I got on set with Jude Law, Samuel Jackson, Liam Neeson, and because I was just an extra in a lot of the roles, I got to see Idris Elba. I got to see them close up and do what they do, and I got to see them when the camera's on, and I got to see them when the camera's off. Christopher Waltz, Jimon Honso, all these people, like, as soon as the camera goes off, you see what they're doing. What do they find important on set to do before the takes? What are they doing in each take? What decisions are they making? These are the guys that are getting Oscars. These are the guys that are getting recognition. These are the guys that are getting work every single time, and women as well, that are getting work continuously. So I'm trying to learn. So that's what I found really helpful, being an extra. I found that helpful, and learning what a set is, learning the jargon, learning who to actually talk to. You know, you don't go on a set and talk to the director to get the next job. You're talking to the casting director or ADs. You know, these are things you have to learn. Even producers can be important sometimes, because, you know, they got projects all the time. And sometimes they're freelance, so they can just holler at you and be like, hey, I remember this actor. So yeah, I learned a lot during that time. And then I realized that I was waiting for a moment. I was waiting for my break. And I think people do get breaks, but also you have to create your own break. And I ended up just going, right, I'm just going to do this full time. And I haven't really looked back.
Man, that's such an incredible journey. I really love how acting, you kind of found those universal experiences, because I think that's something true for a lot of actors, why we do it, because we want to experience stuff on essentially a human level. And so once you kind of found your way in there, and then then you start to see the people that you named, like Lenny Henry and Richard Blackwood, you start to see the people that look like you, that are in that same space that you're trying to reach and you're trying to experience, and it gives you, it's kind of why even straight away at the beginning of this conversation, you can see the importance of representation and see that, because when you are experiencing those human emotions through performance, and then you see, oh, there's someone that looks like me doing it on a level where I want to reach, fires you up. Right?
It does, because it's the other thing as well. It opens doors for you. I think every kid during the whole of secondary school and primary school, you're finding out, everyone's always asking, what are you doing? And not even directly, but sometimes, like, just in things, you're trying to find your identity in terms of, do you play sports? What does that mean? Are you that kid? Do you do drama? Do you do this? Do you do that? And I guess when you're Black and you're in the UK, for a lot of places, it's more what people would describe as normal for it to be surrounded with races that aren't Black. You know, you go into any space, you go into high school, it'd be very, for most UK kids, I think every ones that I know, there's not one that can say, oh, my school was mostly Black, or, my class was mostly Black. It never was. And, even when you took classes or other things, I went to this sports club and I was part of this, what were the teachers? Were they mostly Black? No, all of those things. So you didn't have examples of people to look at and go, oh, they can do it. They fit in those spaces. What you had was the examples that were kind of shown, and that was basketball, that was this or that. And if you weren't those things, it was very hard to find yourself. I wasn't into basketball. Okay. I wasn't a wrestler. Okay. I wasn't, the next footballer. Okay. So then where am I? I need to see people in what I'm interested in,
Yeah.
So I know that I can do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why representation is important, because I think there's so many people, so many different things, police, so many different jobs out there, and there are a lot of different races doing each one, but the poster boy or any other person that's being shown is usually not black, and that can put a downer on people's thinking of, well, what's the point of me trying, because how am I going to be the first?
Well, this is it, isn't it, right? And because I remember a lot of myself growing up going through, A levels and then into drama school training and being asked, oh, what kind of roles do you aspire to? And I know a few times I never ever said a leading role, because very rarely did I ever see people that look like me in a leading role. So I would always, my first, and this isn't necessarily indicative of this production, but my first job when I left drama school, I was playing Horatio in Hamlet, best friend role, not that he was originally written as the black best friend role. However, it's just kind of, I would never have auditioned for Hamlet. Now, in that production, they actually were looking to cast a female Hamlet anyway, so I wouldn't have been cast anyway. It was, there was different there, which worked and was brilliant to be a part of. But do you know what I mean? I wouldn't have sat there and gone,
no, definitely,
I can be Hamlet. I would have gone, oh, Horatio, Laertes, great, I can be those guys. So that's
people don't realize. I don't think people realize until there is one of us that has it. Because, like, for instance, I was in every school play. Every single school play I was in. The one school play I wasn't in, and people were asking me and surprised that I didn't audition for, was Grease. And I was like, straight away, you guys are doing Grease. Where's the black roles? There's no black roles. What am I auditioning for? Guys, every single time we've done a play, I've gone for the main role, like the main characters. We did Wizard of Oz. Again, there wasn't really any black characters. I was obviously the lion. I was dressed up as a lion. He could be white, black, Indian. It didn't even matter. He was dressed as a lion. Do you know what I mean? Bugsy Malone. There wasn't any black characters, but I was Nicely Johnson. Nicely Johnson is a fat white guy. He ended up being a black guy. No one's going to know the difference. It's fine. Grease, I can't be Danny. They weren't going to make me Kaniki. They weren't going to make me, do you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't even be one of the random T-boys without anyone going, why is there one token black guy? Like, it doesn't make sense. So they ended up making one of the black guys who also was into drama from our school. When I went to see it, he ended up being Eugene. And I think Eugene's a character that is said, but like they reference Eugene, but he doesn't actually have any lines in the whole thing. So in this play, they gave him like one line, and he's this, I think, a ginger geek, but then they made him this random black guy. And again, it's these things of, I don't think anybody thought about it. They were just like, Grease, everybody loves Grease, but never went, wait a second, we've got a problem here, because most of our drama department is actually of other races. And we never really looked at the movie and thought, that looks like that. And that, like you said, that happens with Hamlet. There's that thing in our mind where we get conditioned to go, well, I can't play him. Like, if you talk Shakespeare to me, then I'm like, Othello, and that's really it. Like, you can't put me in anything else, really. Like, if you wanted me to be the lead, it's like Othello. Someone said to me, I want you to audition for a Shakespeare play. Straight away, I'd be thinking, you're talking about Othello. And if it was like Macbeth, I'd be like, that's interesting. Who do you want me to play? Like,
right.
Because I'm not seeing you making me Macbeth. So,
no,
I get that fully.
Yeah, it's right there. And I think that kind of segues us quite nicely into the next section then, as we're talking about, how we saw ourselves get in the early stages of our career. But let's go back a little bit further, and maybe you kind of touched already on sort of stuff you watched growing up, and I'd like to kind of dive a little bit deeper into that. And I think we're going to kind of go 90s heavy nostalgia here, which is great, because a lot of the people I audition were all around the same age range, and so we just dived straight into the 90s and early noughties, and I'm more than happy for that. Hit me up, Mike. What's going on in the early 90s?
So I'd say the 4 most important channels at the time when I was growing up was definitely, I had my little cable and wireless box, and I think it was actually, five channels. Okay, so let's hit it with Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network. So we're talking Johnny Bravo, Johnny Quest, Toonami, anything that came anime-wise on Toonami, Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, all of those things. Then we're talking Nickelodeon. So that's where I got Sister. I got The Amanda Show for dumb sketches, or like my first dumb sketches kind of show. Probably the vein that got me into SNL. What else was on Nickelodeon? Oh, Cousin Skeeter, all of those things. Wild Thornberrys, Rugrats, all of those things. And then adding on to that, because I think it's the black programs I used to watch, Trouble. So Trouble was the Parkers, One-on-One, Different Strokes, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. All of those things were happening on there. So that was like a lot of American Black culture that I got from Sister Sister on Nickelodeon, and then coming into that. Then you had the music channels. So you had the Box, which I definitely religiously watched, all music channels, and then MTV, which again, all of the stuff. And then I remember when MTV Base, and they split it to MTV Base, MTV Hits and everything. Life, Rhythm and Blues, the Lick Chart, again, Trevor Nelson, a DJ doing his thing, someone who people, you know, especially in the DJ world, back in the 90s, you say DJ and everyone was like Fatboy Slim. It was all these white guys, Moby, all these white guys. And then Zane Lowe, and then suddenly you have all of this massive white audience going, and Trevor Nelson. And you're like, wait, there's a Black guy who's getting recognized by a whole bunch of white people up in his league. Like, we need to see that. We need to see more of that. So Trevor Nelson was a massive inspiration in that way, because it was like, yes, Ian Wright, same way. You know, you surrounded yourself with racism, and even especially football, where there was a lot of racism. Ian Wright he dealt with racism, but he was hailed a king in that place. He was hailed a king to the point where he's coming back and talking and giving commentate. Like, people trust him to commentate on games and stuff. People trust him. He's a legend to, you know, Britain, and he's Black, and it was a big deal. And then I would say the last one I said, oh yeah, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Trouble, MTV, and the Box. So it was those were my things. So I grew up on a lot of cartoons, a lot of anime. I'm still a massive anime fan. But I also grew up on those sitcoms, those Black sitcoms. And I didn't realize how much they would have had an impact on me and my identity as a Black man. Even like watching the reunion and seeing things like, when I was watching the reunion, they were talking about Janice, the original Aunt Viv. And they were talking about, this was like, she was one of the first dark-skinned Black women who was on TV that was her own boss. She, you know, she was educated. She knew how to dance, as we all know. she had all different degrees. She was working in criminal law. She was never dependent on Phil. Like, they both were Black excellence together. And it was, when it was said in the thing, I was thinking about it, and I was like, actually, I don't think there was any dark-skinned women that was at her level on the TV growing up at all. You know, there was, and it wasn't shown like that. And again, it was all these things that have catered into me going, I can make a way, I can do things. But yeah, that was me. I used to, TV, definitely TV. Anything with a jingle, anything that was, I loved it. And film.
No, so I somehow always forget Trouble. I mean, you know, obviously it got taken off, and then it sort of, you know, everything sort of disappeared. But I mean, My Wife and Kids was a massive one for me growing up. I loved that show. Loved that show. I found a home on Nickelodeon as well, especially when Avatar: The Last Airbender dropped, and then I was like,
of course,
we're firing off now.
Of course, that was one of the best moments, because this was way before people thought anime was cool. And I watched anime, and I was definitely like disregarded. Like, people like that weird Japanese stuff. I'm not reading subtitles. You're weird. It's not even in your language. What you doing? And then Avatar came out, and it was obviously inspired by animation, but it was animated, and it was in English. And then suddenly you got all these people going, do you know what? Yeah, I don't really know about your Dragon Ball Z, but like Avatar. And I'm like, I'm glad we can get onto something. I'm glad there's a conversation we got, because it was amazing. And I think Avatar was way before its time.
Oh my God.
Because we all loved it, because we loved the powers, we loved everything, but the lessons, you know, going back to it as an adult and watching some episodes, I'm like, this was dealing with a lot of adult themes and a lot of things that can teach me now as a 30-year-old that I was watching, you know, as a 12, 13-year-old, and just going, yeah, Zuko, he's got fire, and not realizing, you know.
Well, this is it. You know, that program, on the third episode, it goes genocide. And it's just like, what? Like, the third episode straight away, they go straight deep into genocide, and you're like, and they handle it in just such a way as well. Like, and the whole show does that. I mean, it was, and I think you're right saying that it was ahead of its time, because 15 years later, and it's popular, you know, last year when it arrived to the US Netflix finally, it was #1 for, I don't know, like 8 weeks or something on US
My
streaming.
sister, who I think when I first started watching it, definitely disregarded it, watched it during lockdown, and was like, I am so sorry. She was like, Toph is the best. and she kept on making Cabbage Man jokes over and over again. She kept on sending me Cabbage Man memes, and I was like, you don't know how happy I am that you're into this now, because like now we can actually talk about it. And she was like, yeah, it's the best. And then I put her onto Cora, and she hasn't finished Cora yet, but she's watching Cora and she's loving it. But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I think even the voice actors, because I think somebody put something up the other day and said, you know, because they're doing a live action one.
Yes. And
they were like, why don't you get the guy who originally did Zuko's voice to do Zuko? And then someone was like, yeah, but he's like 45 now. And I was like, 45? My God. Like, just like, this is he must be like, why am I still relevant? Like, why are people still messaging me about this? Is crazy. This is a project I did like 20 years ago, and now everyone's still.
Well, you say that. I mean, he's actually just started a podcast now, headed by Nickelodeon, but him and Janet Varney, who voices Cora, so they now have an Avatar podcast. Yeah, they've already got 4 episodes up, Braving the Elements. Anyone who's an Avatar fan, like, check it out, because it's just so great hearing their voices. I'm kind of sat there each episode thinking, this is just essentially what if Cora and Zuko ever met and just sat down and just nerded out about the adventures they've been on. it's so good. But they actually interviewed the episode 2 and 3. They were interviewing Brian and Mike, the creator. That was really great to get the insight, because obviously, you know, they're 2 white Americans making a show that is so heavily influenced by East Asian culture, and just to hear, you know, their thought process of going, look, we were making this show, and we knew that if we were going to do that and we were going to base it in these cultures and whatnot, that we were going to make sure we honored that. And, you know, so, you know, obviously they had Korean studios that you know, animated the whole show for them and whatnot. And it shows that it is possible for people to do it properly. And, you know, and if you want to make that stuff, you can make that stuff, and you can show it the, you know, the attention and the honoring and the detail that it needs, because these guys did it before it was cool.
yeah. I think of it, when you just said that, I just thought about it in my mind. It's the same thing of what I really love about Disclosure. For the longest time, when it comes to club classics and things, they would always have this black woman singing a hook. And they would never, ever, ever credit them. Like, they would always be, you know, the DJ or whoever mixed it. And it was never featuring whoever. And what I've always loved is Disclosure always puts their people on. They always, like, even recently, their new album, they had a sample from an African song, and featuring had the artist there. So I was able to check out the artist and able to check out most of her music and be like, of course I like the song, and Disclosure, you still get my attention, but you're putting her on because she deserves to be on. You're using her music. To be honest, even Disclosure put me onto Sam Smith. I didn't know who Sam Smith was before La La La. So, you know, I like all these things. I'm like, it can be done properly. Like, some people are just cutting corners. There's no real excuse. If you're going to be white, if you're going to, you know, be white and then go, I'd like to do this, there is a marginal line where it's like appropriation or honoring. And, you know, the line is always, people say the line is thin, but I don't think it is that thin, as we just described. No, you know,
I think it is.
All you have to do is give the attention to it. You know, like you said, we're going to do an East Indian thing. Let's get the animators paid from their country. We could have we got animators in America. We could have easily done that. But what's the point? Because that's not their culture. Why are they benefiting from that? Let's do it that way, you know? And I like that. And I think that again shows that it's really, it can be done.
I think we're kind of like already moving into the next section anyway, which is really nice, and kind of like just talking that wider conversation about diversity and representation, which is great. And I think that's where we're going to go next. If you're happy to, I'd really love to like kind of talk more about your experience now working as an actor and as a fan of stuff, like how you maybe see the industry, how, you know, you see things, are they moving, are they not? Where would you like to see things move to if it's not quite where you would want it to be?
I think that it's, whenever someone asks me that question, I think that we have to talk about the industry as a whole and have to realize that the technology that me and you are talking on right now has expanded the industry. I think when it comes to diversity, the big companies, the big guys that have been doing Hollywood for years, their movement has been very slow. But when it comes to other people going, if they're not going to move, then I'm going to move for them. You know, they're coming in, and then everyone's saying that the industry is moving. I don't necessarily feel like the industry is moving at a fast pace. It's moving, but not at a fast pace where it could be. I think that what's happening is you're getting a load of amateurs coming in and a load of people making short films or indie films and stuff like that, where they are doing diversity. It's putting a little bit of pressure on them. And because they're seeing so many of them come through, everyone's going, but it's getting better. Is it getting better?
Right.
Because it is, in some sense, I'm never going to, like, this is the thing. Growth is growth. And I'm very, very happy that growth is growth. I mean, I was having a conversation with a friend about why I like, one of the things I like about the new Spider-Man films is Spider-Man, plural. Spider-Man films is not only does Tom Holland, for me, remind me of the Peter Parker that I grew up on. Another one that to mention is I grew up on that animated series. I wanted my Peter Parker to be dweeby when he's Peter, but then I also wanted to be cool and confident when he's in the suit. There needs to be a differentiation. And I think out of all of them, Tom's given me the best differentiation. But then on the other scale of things is, I've been to New York. Now, New York that I've seen on cartoons, New York that I've seen growing up and everything, it was white. It was white. But when I went to New York, I mean, it's New York. It's just as multicultural as London. So when I'm watching like Far From Home and I'm seeing on the class trip that there's all these races, that makes more sense to me than him going on a class trip and it just being a whole bunch of white people. Because I think a school in New York, and you're telling me that it's only white guys in your class. A school in America, period. You're telling me a school in America, period, doesn't have different race. Do you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make sense. So it's things like that where I go, that's where I like diversity. I like diversity where it makes sense to the time that we're living in. That it's just a representation of what I see outside my window. I May Destroy You, another one. I loved seeing all the different races. She went out with an Italian guy, she went out with an Indian guy, and her best friends were black. And she lived with a white guy. These were all different races because we're in London. It was the London that I see. Do you know what I mean? If it was all black cast, it wouldn't be the London I see. If it was all Indian cast, it wouldn't be the London I see. It was different. And it's because it's the London that I see. And that's important, I think. The other thing with diversity is, from me and my experience, I never take on a role where I read in the script that you've brought in diversity for diverse reasons. If you're bringing me in to have a black guy there, I don't want to be a part of it. Now, if you're bringing me in to give the black guy's perspective on what's happening, I definitely want to do that because I want to tell the story. You know, say if it's like you're just doing a series about police officers, I want to be that police officer that gives you the story so you can see the contrast of what the Indian officer had to deal with on a daily basis, the white officer has to deal on a daily basis, and what the black one has to deal on a daily basis. I don't want you to just have scenes where you don't delve into any of that because it's political and you don't want to do that, but you have me there. What's the point? It's very much in the same vein of when we were talking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Of course, they had to talk about Black Lives Matter. Of course, they had to talk about different things because you have a superhero who has taken the mantle of Captain America and he's black. There's history with black people in America. You can't just pretend that didn't happen. And I feel like I feel like that's one of the reasons why Anthony likes to do it, because I feel like from his personality, from what I see, if they skipped over that, he would have been like, why would you, how could that doesn't work. You're telling me Falcon just goes, yeah, sure, I'm going to step into those shoes. And there'll be no backlash that a white guy has stepped down and a black guy step into his position in America. Absolutely no backlash. What world are you living in? Like, it doesn't work. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't work. So it's things like that where I'm like, I want to see diversity for reasons because we all live in a diverse world. We do, especially the places that people are showing, which is England, America, most of the time in films. And I don't like when they just be diverse for diverse reasons. It was one of the things I think we talked about of why I wasn't too hot on the Idris Elba thing, being James Bond. Yes, I love the fact that we have, the option to do that. But it was more of the fact that I was like, I'd rather him be a 003 agent or a 004 agent, that when James dies, he becomes the new 007. But you've established James Bond, James Bond, a very British sounding name. And you've established his backstory of, being this orphan that went to this school and stuff and all of these things and all of these opportunities that he got. I can't see somebody of that same age in that same time period being black and being offered the same things. It doesn't make sense to me. To me, that's not, So
well, and I think
like
so, and I think if you're carrying it on the Daniel Craig timeline, because obviously the Daniel Craig timeline is different to the past ones, where they have fully established that James Bond, because there was always that kind of fan theory that went round was is Bond the code name that the next agent
Yes, or is
adopts,
it his name? Yeah,
or is it his
yeah,
name? And because obviously Skyfall adopted it as his name,
yeah.
if they carried it in that world, I would agree. They'd have to reboot it again, which just seems
They
mental.
would, and I don't. Whereas you've got things like Doctor Who, where that could be an alien for all I care. Like it's a Time Lord. It can be a woman. It could be a man. It could be
Do you know what I
black,
mean?
Indian, Asian, whatever. It's a Time Lord. Resets every time. So that's a character where it's a very ambiguous title. But where I think you've got James Bond, you don't really need to. And I think as well, growing up on comics, and I'm so glad that the comic movies are doing this really well, but growing up on comics and even in anime, we've always been exposed to diversity in those things. I think as the years have gone by, it has been, but I'm talking male, female, black, white, Asian, everything. When we was kids, I think it was very whitewashed, Superman, Black, Batman, everyone was white. But as the years have gone by, there's a lot more black heroes and there's a lot more other people stepping into their roles. You've got Wonder Woman, but you've also got Nubia. So you've got Black Wonder Woman already. The only problem with that, where it gets problematic, is things like what I just said, the Black Wonder Woman. She's Wonder Woman. Do you know what I mean? Or Black Captain America, or, it's the female Thor. And da-da-da-da. Now she's Thor. Thor is the title. Thor can be, So, yeah, that's where it kind of gets sticky. But in my own experience, going back to me and my experience in my films, as I said, one thing that is quite hard, and I just push through it anyway, is you still get, as I said, the big companies, you still get those audition tapes and things where they go, we're looking for a Caucasian or this. And it's annoying when you first read like the little blurb that they give you the treatment first, and you read the treatment, and it's like one that recently I read, it was, they wanted to do like a film noir detective thing. And I was like, that sounds amazing. Every single part that they're looking for was someone white. And I was like, it's a film noir and you want it in America and you want it to be a detective story. You're telling me there's not one black police officer or even like one black person involved in the storyline at all. It's all white. And those things are hard. I just apply for them anyway. And, sometimes I guess that some casting directors are like, can't he read, and they just delete it. But there has been, there was one experience where I did, it was a short film. And originally they were going for an Indian man. And I just put myself forward for it. And they was like, yeah, why couldn't he be black? And then I got the part. So I ended up doing that. And I think some companies, some companies, they're willing to be challenged. And that's all you have to do, challenge them. If you just say, well, I don't understand why this couldn't be a female. Oh, because that's what you see in your head. But if you read it again, where does it specify if he's male or female? So things like that.
I can feel that, because actually, I've tried to do something similar and to say to my agent, like, I'm mixed race. Half of me is white. Put me forward for the Caucasian roles.
Yes.
Unless it's specific to unless it is like, but when is it with a white character that they must specifically be white? Now, there are some saying, like, there was one role that came forward where it was playing a Nazi soldier. She's like, probably can't get away with that one. I was like, that's fine. I understand that one. Probably don't actually want to do that one anyway, to be honest. But you know what I mean? But so, there are some things where it comes, where there are limitations, but at the same time, I agree with you. I have a slight trepidation with that, in the fact that, do you ever sometimes worry that a casting director might just go, oh, well, actually, we wanted BAME, so we're kind of all right. Do you ever feel, did you ever, I mean,
I do.
At the same time, I'm not saying that you're in the wrong, because I understand, you want to get the job and everything. So, but
of course.
I just want to ask the question, see what you think.
No, 100%. I do. I definitely, and this is what I was saying about, you have to really kind of read into not only what the script is and what's happening there, how this company is, how they're trying to be represented, how things like that. Because you're right. Like, first of all, I hate that word. Because it is, I hate BAME, because it's just, it's a category where you're just lazy. It's like, oh, okay. It's others is what, and that's how it makes me feel. It makes me feel like we've got white actors and BAME, and it's like, what? Come on. Like,
dude, fully on that.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and I don't like that. And I do feel that sometimes where you do go for a casting, you're like, you are trying to, it is one of those BAME things. And it's sad because there's not really a lot of black actors or even Asian actors or Indian actors or any other ethnicity that I've met that have ever said that they like that. But every single time I see casting, a lot of people, even agencies, are going, we're looking for more BAME actors. And it's like, what does that mean? Does that mean your book is just white? Like, and then that's problematic anyway. Why would I want to join your agency if you only hunted white people in the first place? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like,
that tells me you've decided to, oh, maybe we should do this. They have to start somewhere, sure, but at the same time, it does not fill you with confidence. I get that.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah. And it's those things where, it's just you. Yeah, there's a trust. There's a whole trust thing there. There's a whole trust thing there. If companies can't appreciate that, then they're probably not the best place for you. And it is that thing where you have to kind of be wise about that. And then some people are just waiting to see what you do and then apply that to everything else. So Michael did this, so this is how all black guys are. Michael is a representation of every black guy. So if Michael said this is okay, then it's okay. If Michael said this isn't okay, then it's not okay, kind of thing. And you have to also be wary of that, because I'm not out here trying to be the spokesperson for all black people. I'm just out here to be Michael. Do you know what I mean? So,
and talk about Michael's experience of being
They're like, we've written this in. Michael, are you comfortable with that? I'm comfortable with that, but don't take that as a thing of going, that's what all black people are going to say. Because first of all, there is possibly wrong and right, but then there's also grey areas of some people are like, actually, no, that's not a problem for me. And some people are like, no, that's definitely a problem for me because it means this. So don't put my name on it and then be like, but he said it was fine, And that's, again, another road which is hard as a black actor, because you have to make those decisions. What choices do you make? People have said things like, Samuel Jackson, how could you be in a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio saying the N-word at you all the time? And that's some black people thinking, no, you should have put a stop to that and not done that. But then you've got black people like me or other people like me that goes, they were doing a film about a time in that time period where it was like that. It's almost like watching a movie now and there's like, it's dubbed with bleeps instead of swearing, and you just be like, yeah, this is stupid. And I think the same way of Samuel. I would just be like, of course he's going to say all those things, because if he didn't, it wouldn't be authentic. You wouldn't get the realism of how bad it was back then. We're not going to sugarcoat you. We have to show you the truth. So again, that is hard as a black actor to go, I'm going to say yes to this, I'm going to say no to this, and where's your moral ground standing? And no one's ever going to be happy.
That's an important thing, isn't it? And I think that actually kind of talks, even just that on its own, like not everyone's going to be happy with it. I think that just kind of talks to a lot of things on a wider scale. Like, today, for example, on Twitter, I see someone listing 4 female-led comic book films and going, these are all really bad, they need to be better. In a separate tweet, they just kind of say, I wish the writing for female-led superhero films would be better because I want to enjoy them. I kind of took the first tweet and I kind of ran with that on Twitter. And someone tried to sort of call me out as well, to be like, oh, look, well, actually 2 of those films weren't that good, but 2 of them were. And I was like, which is fine and acceptable. However, the issue here is holding things to a different standard. Another, again, reason to tie back to something we've already been talking about introducing your first minoritized race James Bond, or or MI6 agent, shall we say, and that everyone goes, oh, this is not as good as it being a white guy playing James Bond. It's not. And it's like, maybe it's not, but hang on a minute, this film literally has to be perfect for you to accept it. And I think that's something we have to really be careful of as well. And it kind of, it's kind of how I feel like, and that's something that we will go through on a day-to-day basis. And I think a lot can be said for the same for people of the LGBTQ plus community and women as well, in that if we are literally not exemplary every single time we rock up, then it makes it so much harder for the next person. It makes it harder for us, but it makes it harder for the next person as well.
You also have that whole thing of them going, it was good, but it was good for a, do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, this was good for a black version of the Wizard of Oz. Or it was good because it was an all-female, like, it was good as okay, for instance, so the female Ghostbusters, I didn't think they needed to happen. I think that they did that, and for me, it didn't feel like a diversity move. It felt like a cash cow move during the movement of diversity. That's what it felt like. What does everybody like? Stranger Things is out. All these other 80s things is out. Everybody likes the 80s stuff. Okay, diversity, let's play on it. Let's do a woman's one. You didn't really write the script. You didn't concentrate on the script. You didn't even give a woman's element of it. You just got 4 very funny women and Chris Hemsworth. And it felt like a very easy, I could have written that film. And I didn't like that. Whereas when we talk about other films, for the longest time, people were saying Mean Girls and Bridesmaids were like chick flicks. They are very, very funny comedies. They don't need to be put in another category. They are funny comedies. Tina Fey is hilarious. She wrote Mean Girls and they did it, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Lindsay Lohan heading it makes everyone kind of think that it's like, oh, you have to kind of be into Paris Hilton and all of those girls and Selma Gomez and all of that to enjoy it. No, you don't. The writing speaks for itself. There are very funny characters in it, you know, very, very funny comedians. The black guy is the principal. All the girls, their timings were perfect. Bridesmaids, super funny. Maya Rudolph, Christine Wiig. You've got all of them, Melissa McCarthy. You've got all of them there, all of the funny girls there. And people yet still will go, yeah, it's a funny girls movie. It's not.
And I think that's the danger as well. It's like you've got, as you say, the Mean Girls and Bridesmaids and Clueless, you know, which are just such great comedy, comedic films. And then when you have something that comes along like the Ghostbusters that didn't do as well, and people go instantly, they go female-led comedies that are not good.
Yeah.
Instantly they then trash that one film, and it's like because and you kind of go, yeah, but hang on a minute, there are so many male-led comedies that are also not good, if maybe not even worse than that.
Yeah,
you didn't lay into that. You didn't go after that one. It's fine, and we can admit when a film isn't good, but what are the standards you're holding it to? I think is then the important part. That's where the difference is. You can think Black Panther was not a good film. That's fine.
Yeah,
that is absolutely fine. Just stop there.
And the thing is, I think with comic books, it's a bit more obvious sometimes when you have that conversation, because someone can go, didn't like Black Panther because I couldn't relate to it. And then they go, whereas I liked Thor, like the third one, Ragnarok, and you go, the one about the two alien gods that was like on another space place where they fought literally a man made of fire that was like 6 foot tall with their best friend that radioactively turns into a green monster. You could relate to that, but a bunch of black people, you couldn't relate. Come on. You're going to tell me that it's not like, you're going to tell me it's not race?
Don't.
Come on, like,
Don't.
come on.
Don't.
That is one of the hardest parts to think about diversity, is that thing of going, people do shut the door as soon as they see something visually that they can't accept, and it's sad because it feels like, as I said before, there's a world that's on the media and there's a world that we live in. And some people go, it's weird to see black people in commercials. It's weird to turn on my TV and see black people in commercials. Whereas they'll get on the train and they'll see a black guy driving the train, and then they'll get a cab and they'll see a black guy driving the cab, and they'll get to work and there's black people in their office, and they'll come home to their white family to watch a black person on TV and go, that's weird. How is it weird? You generally interacted with about 360 people today.
Considering we kind of already moved into what we're kind of watching now in adulthood, let's move fully into this. What are your favorite things to watch right now, and what things are you actually just currently watching at the moment? Are there any shows or any films you've seen recently that have struck a chord with you, man? If it's to do with representation or it's not, as we've just kind of discussed, we can relate to things that don't necessarily we don't need to see ourselves on there. So
of course,
hit me up.
So I would say, obviously now I'm definitely watching all the Marvel stuff. I've very much enjoyed everything that's come out. It's interesting how even amongst that, how exactly what we were talking about, it's interesting when I ask people, not even I ask, people will say Loki's been my favorite so far. And I go, interesting, okay. It's the one that makes sense the most. Interesting, okay. You do know the other one's led by a black guy and a white guy, and the other one's led by a female, but Loki, the white male, is the one that you relate to. But interesting. Very interesting. And then again, it's the same with Wanda. Like, some people say Wanda's the one that they relate to the most, or the one that was most interesting for them. And I'm like, cool. And some people will say, I'm going to say, it's Falcon and Winter Soldier. I was going to say Captain America and Winter Soldier. It's Captain America and Bucky now. And he doesn't like to be called that. So, you know what it is. But it's interesting to see, you know, how people even took that. So that was a conversation. What else do I like watching right now? I have been watching the Genius series. It's very interesting that National Geographic has done a Genius series where not only have they broke the mold by having, I think it's Antonio Banderas or Anthony Hopkins, one of the Anthonys, that is playing Picasso in a Genius series, which makes sense. You know, you say genius, people go Mozart, Tchaikovsky, musician, Albert Einstein, They've got Cynthia Erivo playing Aretha Franklin. And straight away, it's incredible, because I go, first of all, you're finally putting a female up there with the word genius. And then a black woman, like of all women, it's a black woman. And, you know, for a lot of people, her story is, I guess she was around the era where people were still racist, and she sang through it, and she's still making hits, and she's a soulful woman, and she's a queen of soul. But they don't know the genius part. They don't know that she played mostly all of her songs. She played the piano, and she was very good at it. She wrote her songs. She was someone in the studio who annoyed other musicians and managers because she was very, very like, it doesn't sound right. Let's do it again. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right. And as I was watching it, the industry guy in me straight away activated, and I was like, if someone kept on going, it doesn't sound right, and not giving me any criticism, I'd be so angry. But then in my mind, I go to the Michael, you've lived for 30 years and you was not born when Aretha Franklin was making music in the charts. Yet you have known her songs that have predated you. And you know for a fact that there's going to be, your children are going to be knowing what respect is. They're going to be knowing all her songs or some of her songs. She did that because she knew what she was doing. And they had to trust her. She was like, we can make a song that's going to make an impact for the next 4 weeks in the charts, or we can make a song that's going to stay around for the next 100 years. And if we are going to do that and everyone wants to get paid for the rest of their life, you're going to have to listen to me, and we're going to have to spend another hour in the studio, you know? And that's the genius. That's someone who's ahead of their time. That's a genius. Everybody says the same thing about Michael Jackson. Everybody says the same thing about Prince. You know, some people don't. Prince is like obviously one of my favorites, and not a lot of people know how much of a genius he is. But then to have Aretha Franklin up there and saying that, I thought that was very, very poignant.
Yeah,
I've been watching a lot of films lately. So the last film I did watch, which again in the Marvel vein, was Black Widow, and I did really, really enjoy it.
Nice.
Well, I say I enjoyed it. I didn't really, really enjoy it, but I enjoyed it. There was a couple of things that I was like, I wanted a little bit more for her. I think it's because I really liked the character. And I think that things like, oh crap, I'm trying to do it without putting spoilers.
Yeah, no, I get you.
But just things like, I wanted at least a flashback with Clint, because, you know, she's talked a lot about their relationship. We've seen a lot about their relationship, but I wanted to see the past relationship. I've only seen the present relationship with them. During lockdown, I got heavily into Pascal, Jean-Michel Pascal, the artist.
Okay. Yeah.
And I've been watching a lot of documentaries and movies on him, which has been really, really great as well. And there was a comedy that my mum started watching. And then I was like, this is really funny. I think it's called Working Mums, and it's on Netflix. Have you heard of it? And I think it's Canadian.
I've heard of it. Yeah, I've not watched it, but I've
very funny. Okay. Very, very, very funny. And a female cast, hilarious. It's one of those ones again where it catches you off guard, and it's like, this isn't a female comedy, it's just funny. Lupin, obviously.
Yeah. I'm literally staring it on my background for my second screen right now. Yeah, man.
Great series. And I think it's great for him because, you know, a lot of people were surprised that they didn't know who he was. I knew who he was because I saw him in The Untouchables before, but I've always known that he's a very charismatic, really good actor, and I'm glad that Netflix has given him an opportunity to go international. You know, people from all over know him now, not just random indie fan groups and French people. Like they all know him, and that's really
people
really something.
Who like me recognized him as that one dude in Jurassic World that worked alongside Chris Pratt with the Velociraptors.
Yes, he was.
What I mean?
He was. I forgot about that. Yeah, he was. That's crazy. Yeah,
man.
Yeah, that's good. I've also been into Grownish, which has been quite weird. Disney Plus got me. It was interesting because I think I've always seen the college experience, the American college experience, white in nearly everything I've seen. So it was interesting to see it with mostly Black and a Latina, and I think another white girl as well. And it made more sense to me because it was diverse. Do you know what I mean? Like it made more sense. It's like watching The Breakfast Club now and going, what high school is this and where are they? Because you're telling me there's not at least like one Asian chick or like one Black guy, or, you know, and I'm not saying that needs a remake. I'm just saying like there was a time. So if they tried to make movies like that now and it was just a white cast, I'd be very confused because I'd be like, where are you basing this? Russia? Like, I don't get it. And even in Russia, there's still diversity. Like, do you know what I mean? Like the places that people go, Russia or Germany, I'm like, yeah, I've seen a lot of Black, not a lot of Black Russians, but I've seen a lot of Black Germans. So, you know, they're out there.
I'm half German, so the one right here.
There you go. There you go. There you go. You know what I mean?
Another great show. I don't know if you've seen it yet. Grand Army on Netflix.
No, but I think someone told me about this. Yeah.
So that's, I mean, that again, that's a New York inner city school, and it's just like, this is what a New York inner city school looks like, and it actually shows you what it looks like. That's a great that show is, man, it delves into some issues considering they're all high school age. They deal with issues that high school girls will go through, and like deeper issues that high school girls will go through.
Yeah.
And they deal with issues that black high schoolers go through, and again, deeper issues. I really hope it gets renewed for a season 2. It's
I
again,
need
they
to see
had
that.
yeah, there's another
Yeah.
sticking point because apparently one of the writers, the head writer, very unfairly treated some of the minoritized race writers in the room. So
Really?
if it doesn't get a second season, I'm thinking it'll be based off of the issues behind the scenes,
Yeah,
which is a shame
that
because
is a shame.
in particular, the image that the first season finishes on, I was like, no, I need to see
Yeah.
with one of them, I need to see
Okay,
what happens
yeah.
next. Yeah. Where's the second season? You know,
And even
image.
things like, just as you were saying that, I was thinking about how I loved Sex Education for the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Sex Education felt like my school, you know, and it's that thing of going, Sex Education felt like my school. I really, really, really loved what they did with Sex Education. One of the most interesting characters for me was actually the black sports guy, because that's someone who I feel like in my church group, my Saturday school group when I was a kid, any group of people where I had friends, there was always a black guy who was into his sports and was treated as such. And sometimes it felt like the passion wavered and was kind of brought up more by the people who believed in him more than him enjoying it anymore. It was like, I have to be a footballer. Why? Because, you know, the time where I wanted to be, even if it's cut off now, we've come too far and I've brought too many people with me. And now mum and dad are too invested. My captain's invested. My agent's invested. These people are invested. And I can't just say no anymore because my life is not mine anymore. The talent is. And, you know, to the point where the kid had to like injure himself to get out of it, you know, I was like, this story is a real story. Like, it's no writer just randomly came up with that. That happens. It's a real thing, and it felt real.
I think another thing Sex Education does brilliantly as well. It's the intersectionality as well. You know, the fact that, you know, we don't just have a black guy, we have a gay black guy who likes to cross dress. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's layering that character. It's, as you say, it's not he's not just a black guy, he's not just a gay guy, he's not just a gay black guy, he's a gay black guy that loves to cross dress as well. Like there's all these like different layers to his character. You're like, this is a complete human, you know? I enjoy
that's one of the I love seeing rounded characters, playing rounded characters. Flat characters do nothing for me because that doesn't describe the truth. And you're right, you know, also straight best friend. So that was also another dynamic to do it because, you know, a lot of people would have come to the show thinking he's gay, so he only hangs out with gay people. His best friend, his bread and butter is a white cis male, you know? Then that character has his own stuff because he's got the trauma of going, I'm trying to go through puberty, something that textbook wise was always taught to me in my house because that's all my mum ever talked about. Sex, text. But when it came to me actually living it, that was a different story. Then you've got the whole thing that was going on with, I think her name's Maeve. It's not Maeve.
Maeve.
But the girl, Maeve, her background, her things that are going on with her, you know, written so well. And I think one of my favorite ever episodes was when they dealt with on the bus journey. And all the girls came and decided to take the journey. So small. And for a lot of people, I think it went over their heads because a lot of people were just like, it's girls being girls and being friendships and whatnot. It's like, no, what actually happened is they took a stand against something that has been happening to women for so long. And they took a stand in a very, very non-confrontational way, but everybody felt safe. Everyone felt secure and everyone felt loved. And I thought that was a really important scene to be put there. And the fact that, again, you had these multicultural of girls from different backgrounds and different things. And it's important to show that.
As you say, like you want these human characters. When you see that lineup of girls, we know each individual is going through something as well. Like they're not just tagging along to look after Amy. We know that actually this moment, though they are there to help Amy, it's a cathartic moment for all of them. And it's because you have built them all up. You've built each and every single one of them, some more than others, sure, but that's just the nature of film and TV. You're now the fifth actor I've interviewed for this, right? And you kind of, I always kind of think, I hope that we can find a way down a few different conversations that I've not had yet. And I do every time, but it is down to you and the other people I've interviewed. You guys just, And I think this is just so important when you bring in different voices, because you will all have something different to talk about and you all have a different
Yeah,
avenue. And I think you've really brought that today, and that is
yeah.
amazing. So thank you very much for that, man. There's a lot to dine on here.
I really loved
Yeah.
that you brought up the duality of yourself as an actor, because that must, like, I always think, I've got a lot of friends that are like dual heritage, and they always, I know my plight as a black guy,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the plight of, and it's what I try, I don't compare it to, but I kind of, to understand it, I live on this border where I'm on the Central Line, and it would technically mean that I'm of east of London, but at the same time, my postcode is Essex. So
Right.
the Essex lot are like, you're not really Essex because you're not Billericay, you're not like Loughton, you're not those places. And the East London lot are like, you're definitely Essex because you're not like East, like you're not E anything, like you're not E3, you're not E1, you're nothing. And it sometimes is, from what I've been described to from a lot of people, they say it's the same thing where it's like, well, white people don't think I'm white enough, black people don't think I'm black enough. So where's my place? And then when it comes to roles, it's like, is my place only the mixed race guy, or can I go on both sides? Because either way, there's still going to be people going, he's not black enough, or he's not really white enough, you know? So yeah, you bringing that up was it was, I was like, yes, yeah.
I've got a video where I kind of go a bit deeper talking about my experience as a mixed race actor. So I recommend like checking that out. One thing to ask, are you happy for people to follow you on socials?
Yes,
you know,
yes, I am.
Yes, great. Great. Where can they find you? I mean,
I
I'll be dropping your links in the description box, but let's just say where people can find you.
Yeah. So I think my main one is at ddugs, which is at d.dugz on my Instagram. You can find my actors page on Facebook, which is Michael D. Douglas. I update everything on there. Somehow I'm seeing a lot of people in Snapchat. Y'all don't need my Snapchat, but I don't know why it's getting so popular nowadays. Anything's on my Snap or anything's on anything else, it'll be on my Instagram or it'll be on that page.
Yeah.
Those are the two most important ones to catch me. And
y'all can still slide into his DMs on Instagram if you need to.
Do your thing, innit? I'm not going to say no.
You don't need to Snapchat that shit, so it's all good.
Am I allowed to plug? Can I plug?
Please, plug, definitely, yes. Oh, definitely, please plug, yeah.
If anybody goes on my Instagram, you'll see that just today, even, I posted a movie picture for Stargazer, which is a movie that I did. It follows a character called Eden who goes on an adventure where he has to go into space because his brother has died. And he has to spend some time with his sister-in-law and his nephew that he's never met before. And there's a lot of emotion to it. There's a lot of a journey, and it's quite a cathartic film. It was definitely cathartic for me filming it because lockdown. So all of the feelings I was feeling in lockdown, I was able to put in this movie. So I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of the poster. Keep watching this space to see when it comes out. I know that's doing a festival run, and then it's going to be available on streaming platforms and things. So when that does happen, I will definitely be updating everyone, and that will happen. I've also have another film called No Ordinary Man. Same situation. As soon as that does the festival run, trust me, I'll be telling you guys all about it. It's two very different characters. Eden, I'm very broken. Meeks, he's an assassin, and he's an accomplished assassin. So he's very, very okay with saying sentences like, I'm going to kill your family, which is super different. And I've always been the smiley, happy guy. So it's quite interesting to see me in a more serene, serious role. So yeah, No Ordinary Man and Stargazer, look out for them because they're going to be
brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed Michael's insights as much as I have. Do follow him on social media so you can keep up when his two films do come out onto streaming. And let me know in the comment section your thoughts and feelings of everything we've discussed today. I'll be really interested to see what you guys think as well. And I hope you have a great day, great week, great month, great rest of the year. I've never said that before. That's just coming to me on inspiration. Why not? Anyway, that's all from me. Thank you very much. Hakuna MaChatter.
Hakuna MaChatter. I love that.